What's up, ambitious immigrants? In this video, I'd like to talk to you about the ideal budget to reach the American dream. Now, before I start, I'd like to give a few shout outs to Mama Sarah for her continued encouragement, to Orlene Mundadi for her feedback and her comments, and to DJ Wakanda for sharing on WhatsApp and on Facebook. Your support, your help, your encouragements are much appreciated. Budgeting right is very challenging, and it's something that I've struggled with until 2017. When I got married, it became easier because my priorities became more aligned. And it helps to have somebody else, a partner, someone with whom you share goals and you spend time going through each item. When I was doing budgeting myself, I was always failing miserably. The numbers were really off, but once I got married, when I became more responsible, it became really mandatory for me to improve my finances. And initially it was a mess, a total mess. Lots of credit card debts, lots of expenses that made no sense. And I basically didn't know where my money was going. It was just like it would come in, it would go out. I would get charged fees, overdraft fees, late fees here and there. It was just a total mess. Then after the marriage, we started spending time every weekend looking at the numbers and then really giving each other feedback and being really encouraging to each other, and also sometimes slightly competing to see who is more responsible financially. That helped me, that helped my wife, and as a result, we ended up improving our budget. So before I start, let me talk about the three things I'm going to introduce. The first thing being, we're going to talk about the Olympic budget. So for that, there'll be three concepts. One will be the bronze medal, the silver medal, and the gold medal. So what we're hoping and what will be ideal is for all of us to get to the gold medal. But we're going to start with first the bronze medal. So before bronze medal, it means you have no medal. So if you don't reach the criteria that will help you qualify for a bronze medal, it means that you have no medal so far. So let's start with the very first medal, bronze medal. For the bronze medal, basically this is the simplest thing. You spend less than you earn. And what I use right now is an app called Clarity Money. This app has helped me really look into the numbers, put everything together. So what I've done is I've added all my information from all my bank accounts from different banks, all my savings, my 401k, everything. So what it does, it gives me two things. It gives me a balance sheet, income statement. The reason why there is this bronze category, if you're spending more than you earn, forget about the rest of the things I'm going to talk about. You need to look into the numbers and make sure that if your income is $50,000, that you spend less than $50,000. The way you'll be able to spend more than that is you have one credit card, another credit card, and once in a while, not all the time, but there are months where you end up spending more because there was something that was unexpected. You take a credit card, you swipe, and then this month you may just be doing things correctly. And then the next month you do it again. There is an unexpected bill that comes, a medical bill or something else. You swipe. Next thing you know, overall, you are spending more than you're earning. And the goal for us right now is to work on a structure that will help us spend less than we earn. And the way to make sure of that is to use this app, Clarity Money, where you're going to start looking at everything that comes in from your paychecks and everything that goes out. At the end of the month, on the 30th or 31st, you should be spending less. The money that you've spent should be less than what you've earned. And that will include a lot of other things that we'll talk about. But at the high level, if you've reached this goal, you've earned a bronze medal. The next medal in our Olympic budget is the silver medal. The silver medal is you make sure that you have zero credit card debt. Now, this one seems like a hard one, a challenge to reach, because a lot of times you'll hear people say you only need to have a little bit of debt. But if you use Clarity Money, you're going to see what I've been talking about. Is that if you have credit cards with anything above 0% interest, you're going to start seeing the interest that you pay on each of those credit cards as fees. And Clarity Money will allow you to see those together. And if you owe a lot of money, let's say it could be $2,000, it means usually around like $400 will go in interest every year. So you want to avoid that by all means. And the way to avoid that is to have zero credit card debt. Now, this doesn't mean you won't have any debt. You'll probably have a car loan, or you may have student loans or any other type of loans. But when it comes to your credit card debts, you want to make sure that it's zero. Even if you use your credit card every month, you want to pay them off so that the balance goes back to zero every time. Now, Without this, it will be harder for you to even reach the bronze medal because you'll be spending more and more on your credit card. All it takes is just 1 month where things are a little bit off, and then what will happen is I'm out of money in my checking account, let me use a credit card. And then the next month, if your expenses haven't changed, chances are you're going to keep doing the same thing. Yes, you'll pay your credit card, but at the same time, you'll use it again, and you're going to keep carrying a balance. You want to avoid that, and if you're able to say by the end of the month, I've paid off all my credit card debts, you've earned yourself a silver medal. I know by now people will be like, Christian, what are you talking about? Why do I need to even care about having a bronze medal or a silver medal? Well, what I'd like to share with you is that what I did back in 2019 to be able to purchase a house was to reach the gold medal status. So I started from no medal, then I made sure that my budget was now in line where I was spending less than I was earning. And then I made sure to pay off my credit card debt. Because by doing this now, it created room for the gold medal that I'm going to talk about. But this helped me buy a house. And what I'm going to talk about, assuming people have interest in this, is that if you follow the criteria for gold medal, in 30 years, meaning if you go, let's say we started in 2020, in 2050, if you do this, with some of the things that I'm going to share, you'll be able to be worth $1 million in 30 years. For now, I will just ask you to trust me that the gold medal status is what you need, and that's what I used for 2 years to be able to get ready to buy a house. Buying a house is more than just having good credit. You also know that you need money for down payment, you need money to pay for other expenses. So how do you get ready for that? It's not just by fixing your credit, which is step one. And there is a link that I'm going to add below to how to, about how to improve your credit. And I know some people who've been following me know about how to improve your credit by now. So that's something you need to work on for the next couple of years, assuming your credit is not very good. Then the next step, of course, is your budget. You need to have a very good budget, and the budget will allow you to have money on the side to be able to pay the down payments, which will be about 3% of the price of the house. So if you make about $60,000, a house of about $250,000 is one that will be ideal to afford. So before you even get into those details, let me first explain what the gold medal is all about. So to reach the gold medal status, there is this budget that I've created that will help you reach that goal, and that's the budget that I've followed. The reason why I've created this is to make things simpler. Because you can go online and you're going to find so many more budgets where they'll give you 5% of your money should go here, 12% here, but this is very complicated. So I have one that's very simple and that has worked for me and that's very easy to remember. I call it the 30, 20, 10% budget. What is the 30, 20, 10% budget? It means 30% of your money should go to your housing. So assuming right now you're renting, only 30% of your money should go to your housing. And even when you buy a house, 30% of your money should go to your housing. So why? Well, or how can we actually get there? Let's assume you make $60,000 a year, which is the average income in the US. And let's assume with taxes, your taxes will probably get around, 12% if you're filing with, jointly, 22% if you're filing by yourself. But to make things a little extreme, let's just say 20%. So with 20%, what you'll bring home is about $48,000. Now, you bring home $48,000, it means every month it's $4,000 that you bring home. With that, it means you probably are getting a paycheck, it's going to be close to $2,000 per paycheck. Close, but not quite. All right, so with $4,000 a month, what this means is that only $1,200 of your money or 30% of your money should go to your rent or your mortgage payments. Only 30%. So this is ideal. It will allow you to be able to afford other things. So that's the 30% part. And then there is the 20% part. What is the 20% part? The 20% part means that 20% of your money should go to PYF. What's PYF? Pay yourself first. A big mistake that a lot of people make is that they tend to pay everybody else first. They pay the bank, they pay the car loan company, they pay Verizon, they pay Netflix. Everybody gets money and they don't get paid themselves. So it's key for you to, if you want to build wealth, you need to pay yourself first. So that 20% money has to go into yourself one way or another. So how can you do that? Should you just take 20% of your money and save? There are a few ways you can do it. 3 ways, I would say. The first way and the ideal way is the 401k. So whether you're putting 5% of your money in 401k, 10, 20 or more, a good chunk of your money, the maximum being about 20% or $20,000, a good chunk of your money should go to your 401k. So it's going to help you save because it's pre-tax money and you won't even have to think about it. It's just being saved for you. And then the second part is you need to save money for your emergency fund. You need that. And that's why it's basically going to help you for times when you end up being tempted to use a credit card. But instead of using a credit card, you're going to rely on your emergency fund. Ideally, you don't even want to get there, but there will be months where you can't predict something and you end up needing that money. So you'll have a separate account for your emergency fund. And ideally, the emergency funds should have 3 to 6 months of expenses. So when you're going to know what your budget, your monthly budget is, times 3 to 6, ideally 6, your money should just go into that account and you save money. And the way to grow that account is to put 20% in general of your money. And the 20% is combined for everything. And then the other part that we'll talk about also is investing. And I'll talk about the easiest way to invest. I call that grandma style investing. So you don't even have to think hard. It's very simple and you can use an application that's already on your phone. So it's gonna be a very, very easy way for you to invest. But overall, what I'm saying here is that 20% of your money should go to yourself first, whether it's your 401k, your savings account, or investing where you buy stocks for yourself. It's your money. Keep it. You're gonna need that for your down payments. You're gonna need that for your future retirement. You're gonna need that for your kids when you go to college. You're gonna need that to be free. So save that money for yourself. 20% is key. It cannot be less than that. I know it's tempting to usually just save $20. Some people don't even save $10. And start with even $1. Create an account where you put every time $1. And you're gonna realize that, you know what? Instead of giving $10 to McDonald's every time, how about really giving myself $10, every paycheck? And then tomorrow $20. And overall, when you get to a point where 20% of your income, so assuming the $60,000 income, the average income, we will say close to $800 should go into your savings. It's not too much money. $800, it's not too much. $800 for your future is not too much. Assuming 10% goes to your 401k, let's say $400 go to your 401k every month, it means that every paycheck, about $200 goes to your 401k. And that's pre-tax money, so it will be even a little more than that. So overall, 401k takes care of a little bit, and every paycheck, what I'm asking you to do here is take $200. So you have a paycheck of $2,000, you take the $200, you also add that to that account. So that 20% is growing one way or another, and you're saving that. This is, on another video, I'm gonna show you how you can turn that 20% into $1 million if you make $60,000 a year. And if you make more than that, you're gonna become a millionaire even before 2050. So sooner, you'll become a millionaire. And I'll also talk in other videos about how you can increase your income and some of the strategies you can use and some that are very obvious to increase your income. But on this one, let's stick to budgeting. So we talked about 30% on your housing, 20% on your savings, so pay yourself first, PYF, and then 10% everything else. What do I mean by 10% everything else? So 10%, let's say your transportation. Transportation will include car payments, insurance or car insurance, gas, oil change, anything related to your car, it goes to transportation. So in this one, it should be 10%. 10%, how do you reach that? So it's $400, assuming you make $60,000 a year. So $400 being spent on that means your car payment is, could be around $150 or $200. And then the rest, when it comes to gas, depending on how you do things, the overall math should be 10% or less. So if you're spending more than 10% on transportation, you need to revisit that. If you're spending more than 10% on shopping, you need to revisit that. So that's the 30, 20, 10% budget. 30% housing, 20% pay yourself first, 10% every single category should be 10% or less. Utilities, 10% or less. Everything else, 10% or less. How are you gonna be able to keep track of those? With Clarity Money, you'll be able to see categories. So ultimately, you should just make sure that each of those categories is less than 10%. Another tip I'm going to share with you to wrap this up is to make sure that you actually stick to your budget. One mistake I made in the past is I was using a single account, and it was just hard. It was easy for me to overspend, and my personal expenses, buying things that I did not necessarily need, whether it was clothes, electronics, I was just overspending, and that category was big. Now, what I did to fix that is I opened many bank accounts. So we have multiple accounts. There is the housing account. Back then, when I was paying rent, the same housing account was used to just take care of everything related to housing. So anything related to housing, you have a specific account. So it could be mortgage or rent. You have one account where, if you can, your paycheck is split and the money for housing goes straight there and you don't touch that. That way you never have to worry about whether you've overspent to the point where you can't even write a check to pay for your mortgage or rent. So you have your housing account. The other account is you need to have your bills account. Things like credit card payments or any debt payments, car payments, those need to be automated. So you automate all those payments and you have an account where you know that money will go in and there is nobody who's going to touch that money. So you don't link that to cards that you go out with to restaurants or things like that. You don't link those to those accounts. So that account, and you can call that the bills account. So I have the concept of mortgage accounts, bills accounts, and then I also have the concept of groceries accounts. So the groceries account helps just make sure that we know that there is money put aside for anything that we need when it comes to groceries. And then there is another account, that one we call basically the emergency fund savings account. So in that's the first account we go to when we have shortcomings or unexpected expenses. So we don't need to think about the credit card. We do our best not to spend money from that account, but that's the account where we put money to make sure that if we ever need money, we can go take a little bit of money, but our goal is always to put back. So our credit card is actually a virtual credit card where we take money from our savings and then we put it back as soon as we can. And then the fifth account will be your personal expenses card. That one is where we usually make most of our mistakes. So that account is where when you go out, you don't know your limits, you don't realize that you have all the bills that I do. You just go and swipe and buy what you need. You go out with friends. I'll pay for this. I'll do this. You go to a store. How much is it? And you start thinking, you know what? I have $1,200 in my account, but that $1,200 is for other things. So what we've done is I have my personal expense account. My wife has the same. Initially, we were mixing it up, but it was really hard to be disciplined because one person will finish spending their money and then the other person feels like, you know what? I still need money. I want to swipe. So ideally, you have your own budget and a strict card where there is an account with a card. And if it's $100, $200, $300, $400, it doesn't matter. What you know is that once the money is gone, you can't spend anymore. You can't spend anymore. And that's one way you'll be able to stick to your budget. So you have separate accounts. This one is very important for you to make sure that you don't overspend. So if you like this video, please subscribe. I'll be sharing a lot of content and I don't want you to miss out on anything. Subscribe to this channel and leave a like if you like this content. And if you'd like me to go into the details, because I was trying to avoid talking too much about the numbers, but if you want me to go into the details and dig in the percentage growth of how you can get to $1 million, feel free to leave a comment below so I know that this is a video that you want to hear about. And I'll go into the details of how somebody with $60,000 following the 30-20-10% budget rule can become a millionaire in 30 years, starting from nothing. Thank you very much for your time and see you next time.